Hello there and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video because I'll be trying Trixie Cosmetics for the very first time. I've always wanted to try this brand and they just recently launched a palette that I knew I had to have, and that is the Horse Girl palette. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. And if you look real close, look, it's a unicorn. So I had to have this palette. I mean, as you can see from my background, I love unicorns, and horses basically are unicorns just without horns. So I had to have this palette. And look at this beauty. I haven't even swatched it yet, and I cannot wait to sit down and swatch this palette, and I'm going to be doing 3 different looks with it. There are 12 shades in this palette, so I'm going to be doing 3 looks, each with 4 shades if possible, so I can use the entire palette. And oh, I just can't wait. I mean, this is just so stunning. And I know this palette was pretty popular with people because I know it originally sold out and then they opened pre-orders, and that's when I picked mine up. But I've had this palette now for over a week and it's just been sitting there, but I had other videos lined up first, but now I get to finally sit down and play with this palette. And for the occasion, I have little horse earrings. These just come from Walmart. They're in one of those packs that have like so many earrings. And I'm also have a little horse necklace. Now the horse necklace, I was given this charm as a baby by my parents, so I have no idea where it come from. I've had it, and I'm nearly 30, and I've had this that long, and it's one of my favorite charms and necklaces that I own, so I can't tell you where that one come from, I'm sorry. But I had to wear all the horse jewelry. But I will be doing some live swatches, and then my 3 looks, I'll have timestamps listed for you below in case you want to skip around. But if all that sounds interesting, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, here is this palette up close. Oh, it's so pretty. Look at that just gorgeous packaging. I love the artwork on this palette. We have these really beautiful shades. I have never used Trixie Cosmetics before, so I cannot wait to start swatching these. And let's start right over here. Oh, wow, they're so soft and they're pigmented, so you can see they have a lot of kick up. But they are so soft. Oh my gosh, they're so soft and so pigmented. All right, we'll do the next 3. Oh man, these are gorgeous. Wow. Okay, now we'll start on this bottom row. Oh, I cannot wait to put this palette all over my eyes. Ooh. Oh, look at that shade. Well. And then we got the last 3. Oh, so far I am so impressed by these swatches. Now that shade right there, Main Character, feels like a topper shade when I'm swatching it, but we'll see. Now, I don't mind toppers. I know some people aren't the biggest fans of them, so I always like to mention it. Like, look how smooth that these mattes are. Oh my gosh. Ooh, look at that shade. Actually, I don't know. That does not look like a topper shade. That has more pigment than I thought. But there is the palette all swatched out. Gosh, that's gorgeous. I love these kind of colors. I love the warmth in this palette. Oh, I just cannot wait to create looks with this. Okay, I'm going to do 2 different eye looks today, and because there are 12 shades, I'm going to do 4 shades per look so I can make sure I'm using all the shades in this palette. So I just let a random number generator pick out the shades for me, and this is the first 4 that it picked out for me. We have Giddy Up, Hoedown, Sugar Cube, and Rodeo Queen. So these are the first ones that they picked out. Okay, I'm going in with the shade Sugar Cube on a blending brush from e.l.f. This shade is really mostly like an ivory shade that has sparkle in it, so all I'm going to do is just kind of pat that all over the lid and kind of into my crease up to the brow bone. I've already set my lid with my Rimmel Stay Matte Press powder, but I'm just going to place this shade down just to kind of add that sparkle everywhere because I love that. I want to put that shade Rodeo Queen all over the lid. That's why I want to go ahead and just use this shade this way. And I don't know if you can be able to see that, but it just adds like a little bit of scattered sparkle, which I really love. I know not everybody likes those matte shades with sparkle in it. I personally love them because I just love sparkly looks. So using that same brush, I'm going in with the shade Hoedown. Only dipped in once because these are really soft and they're very pigmented. So I know that with this palette, I'm going to go in with small amounts each time and then build up as I go. When I first saw this palette announced over on Instagram, I knew I had to have it, that this was going to be my first palette from Trixie Cosmetics. The brand has launched palettes in the past that have really caught my attention, but not enough for me to, I guess, to actually ever place an order. But this palette, I knew. Because I feel like for the most part, this is basically like a neutral palette. It does have like, you know, some pops of pink and some blues, and then that kind of like that shade that's like maybe like a purple to a blue. But they're still more on the subtle side. So for the most part, it's a neutral palette, and that's probably what I love about it the most. Well, that seems to have blended out really well. No issues there. Same brush going in with the shade Giddy-Yup. And I'm going to start stamping this shade on this outer corner of my eye. And then kind of also blend it into the outer portion of my crease as well. You know, there were more products in this collection, but I just really wanted the palette. I think there was a blush, maybe a lip gloss or a lipstick. I'm not exactly sure. And then I know there were some like more accessory items. The blush looked like a really bold hot pink shade, and as pretty as it looked, I know I would probably never wear that, so I just said I just wanted to get the palette. Okay, I'm really impressed by how these are blending. I'm having no issues whatsoever, and I love that you can make these shades soft, or you can build them up, but you can also make them look more just toned down. I like that you can do that it gives you that option. Okay, I'm going to take the shade Rodeo Queen, and I'm going to take that on a concealer brush first. I'm not going to spray my brush or anything with any setting spray. I want to see how this applies on its own using a brush. That's pretty. Oh, I like that. That's so pretty. Ooh. Then you probably could spray your brush or use your finger to make it even more intense, but it applies really nice with a brush. That shimmer is about the same color of the matte that I put on the outer corner. Normally I could probably go in with the shade Stirrup Trouble to kind of build that up on that outer portion a little bit, but I just want to use the 4 shades because I feel like that's a way for me to be able to keep up with making sure that I use every shade in the palette. If I can, I like to use every single shade before I can actually say whether or not I really truly love a palette, because I feel like, you know, you need to see how every single shade works before you can ever recommend the palette to somebody. So that's why I love to do these multiple looks. Okay, but that is pretty much it. That's all 4 shades right there. I'm going to just do some mascara and a lash, and I'll come right back to do the lower lash line on this side. Okay, I ended up just using some mascara on this side because even if the shades it picks out for me over here be a little more dramatic, and I put a lash on this side. I can always pop a lash on over here after I finish filming, but I did want to just show a just mascara look with this palette because this created such a very easy wearable eye look, and I really love that, so I just wanted to leave it mascara. This is the Milk Kush mascara, which is one of my favorites. I already have a backup, a little mini backup waiting for me. I love that mascara because I don't think it does such a bad job. Like, I didn't even curl my lashes, I just put on the mascara, so I don't think it does bad at all. But I'm going to go in with the shade Giddy Up on a small angled brush from e.l.f. And I'm just going to run that on the outer half of my lid. I have another shade I'm going to put on the inner portion, so I just wanted to have this shade right here. And then using that same brush, I'm going in with the shade Sugar Cube. Since this shade has a bit of sparkle to it, I wanted to try placing it right here on the lower lash line, just kind of meeting up with that darker shade right there in the center, just to add a little bit of brightness, because that's basically my skin tone. It just adds a little bit of brightness to my under eye and a little bit of sparkle. And there is look number 1 all done. Okay, here is the color scheme that it picked out for me for look number 2. Look at this shade right here. Wow. Okay, so we have Main Character, Stirrup Trouble, Western Pleasure, and Hot to Trot. So I'm going to start with Western Pleasure on a blending brush from e.l.f. There again, only dipping into that just a few times, really lightly, tapping off the excess because these shades are really softly pressed, so they do have a little bit of kick up in the pan. I personally don't mind, but I want to mention that. I always worry that I'm going out of focus when I film this eye because I usually don't film this eye. I used not to do my looks like this when I would do multiple looks at a time. I would always do one look and then the next day a look and then the next day. But now I've got to where I really like doing this, like showing 2 different looks, like side by side, because I feel like that really shows the difference that a palette can do, or if it can't, like maybe it's one of those palettes that ends up looking the same. Like, you know, the shades just end up overlapping and the palettes end up looking the same. And I think that's important to point out as well. I don't think that'll be a problem with this palette, but I have seen palettes like that for sure. Okay, then I'm going in with that same brush in the shade Stirrup Trouble. And I'm just going to stamp that on this outer corner of my eye. Going to do the same thing I did on the other eye, the same eye shape. But so far, this palette has been really easy to work with. I have no complaints. Okay, then I'm going to take the shade Main Character on a concealer brush from e.l.f. I'm not going to spray my brush yet. I want to see how this shade does, but you can kind of see that shift in the pan. Really beautiful. I'm going to place that on this inner corner of my eye, or inner portion of my lid, I should say. I didn't spray my brush. I just want to see what it does on its own. This shade might be one you might want to spray your brush because it does have a lot of sparkle to it. So it'd probably be a shade that you would be better off spraying your brush with. Okay, just so I picked some up on my brush and then sprayed it, and I'm going to see what that does. Yeah, that makes it even more intense, for sure. I have fallout from that shade because it does have sparkle in it, but now that's one reason why I like to do my eyes first and my face last, but that is something to keep in mind. But if you sprayed your brush the first time you go in with this shade, it probably would minimalize that some. But I just wanted to see what the shade could do on its own. Okay, so I'm just going to do some mascara on that side, and I'll be right back to do the lower lash line. Okay, I'm going in with the shade Hot to Trot on a small angled brush from e.l.f. And I'm going to run that all across my lower lash line. That is a really pretty shade. That would be pretty all over the lid as well, but I really wanted to see that shifty shade on the lid. Okay, and there is look number 2 all done. Okay, these are the final 4 colors that I have to use in this palette. We have the shade Hey Girl, Colt Classic, She Biscuit, and High Horse. I'm going to start with the shade Hey Girl on a blending brush from e.l.f. and start running that in my crease. The 2 looks that I did yesterday, I had those 2 looks on for a long time, like a whole day then some, and there was no creasing, no fading, no mudding of the shades. They look really beautiful at the end of the day when I was taking my makeup off, so I'm very impressed with this palette, and I'm so happy that I have it in my collection. And these shades are so easy to blend out. Like, there's no issues whatsoever with blending. So I'm going to take that same brush and go in with the shade Colt Classic. I might have to deepen up the shade Hey Girl a little bit after I apply this shade, but I'm going to just start with this first, because this is a really pigmented deep shade. And then if I have to go back in with the shade Hey Girl, I can. And then I'm going to just pat that out all over this outer portion of my lid, and then I'll just start blending that into my crease. And then I'm going to take the shade She Biscuit on my finger, and we're going to apply that to the beginning portion of my lid. Ooh, that's pretty. Wow, that is a pretty shade. Okay, that's the only shades I'm going to use for the lids. I'm just going to do some mascara and a lash, and I'll be right back to do the lower lash line. Okay, these lashes right here are from Ioni. These are their halfling lashes in light, foxy, crisscross half lashes. They just come in a packaging like this. I really do like these, but they're not, to me, okay, well, for my eye shape and size, they're not half lashes. They're more like, this is about the length I would cut a full strip lash. Like, they start here and go here. So on me, they're definitely not a half lash, but I do love them, and I like that I can just pull them out of the box and they fit automatically. I don't have to trim them or anything, but I did want to point that out. But I like them, just I don't consider them half lashes. Okay, I'm going to go in with the shade High Horse on a detail crease brush from e.l.f. And I'm going to run that on my lower lash line. This is the final shade in the palette, so I've used all 12 shades now. So let me finish up this lower lash line, and I'll put on some mascara, and then I will give my final thoughts. And here is look number 3, all done. Okay, I'm zoomed you back out. Now, everything that I'm wearing on my face will be listed and linked for you below in case you're interested about anything else I have on. But this palette, I am so happy that I have this palette in my collection. I adore it. I mean, from the packaging, I mean, look at that beautiful horse. All the way to all of these shades. I have now used all 12 shades in this palette, and I think that it is worth every penny. If you are looking to pick up this palette, I don't think you'd be disappointed at all. But now, you definitely do have to like neutrals, because, I mean, there are a few little more pops of color in here, but for the most part, it's a neutral palette, which is a plus for me, but I understand that some people want more color. So some of Trixie Cosmetics' other palettes might be more of your preference, but I really love this one. This is my type of palette. I just love that I can get some really pretty everyday wearable looks in here, but I mean, you probably could also, make it a little more bold if you want. And for me, the shades are really easy to work with. They blend out really nicely. I like that I can make even the deeper shades more on the softer side because that's just what I prefer. But because they're so soft, they're really buildable as well, so I feel like you could build up the intensity to get what you want with this palette as well. But I really do love this, and this makes me want to try more from this brand. But thank you so very much for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, I hope you'll please consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing if you haven't already. And please make sure to follow me over on Instagram at Jessica Dearly, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!